right. Hey, folks. So today's topic is going to be, should you skip a workout if you're feeling ill, under the weather, a bit off? I get this question quite a lot. It's an interesting question to answer because typically speaking, I get it in either DMs on Instagram or YouTube comments. Hey, Faz, feeling a bit under the weather. Should I skip a workout? And I always like to think about the reasons behind why people ask me questions. I think it's very important because most people just go through life without really thinking about the reasons behind why they're asking questions or why they have thought processes. For example, if somebody was really genuinely ill, there would be no question about going to the gym or not. Like for me, unless I'm on my deathbed, I'm going to be at the gym. So what is the purpose of somebody saying, hey, Faz, I'm feeling a bit off? It's because they're looking for an excuse to skip the gym. And I think this idea that people don't really think about their thoughts and their beliefs, and they just go along with the surface level thoughts, and they almost ask people like me, ask coaches for permission to do things. I think it was highlighted very well recently with Natural Hypertrophy's recent and latest video on power building. And that is this idea that a lot of people just have beliefs and they don't really question them. Some people think natural hypertrophy is a bit pedantic. I don't. I think he's a thinker, like I am. And when you start to think about things, to a lot of people, that can come across as being pedantic, but it's not. It's just thinking about things and not accepting the surface level solution or thought process. And it's the same with this. Should you go to the gym if you're feeling under the weather? Sounds like a perfectly reasonable question. Sure, on the surface, sounds like a reasonable question. Let me ask an expert. But actually, what that is betraying is betraying doubt in your mind. Because if you are truly ill, if you are really ill and out of it and not able to do anything, there would be no question. You would simply skip the gym. There would be no, let me go onto YouTube, let me ask a professional, let me see what he thinks. Hopefully, he'll tell me to skip the gym. No, because if you wanted to go, you would have gone. If you wanted to skip it, now you're looking for permission to skip it. So just wanted to start this discussion off by saying the question is an interesting one, mostly because people don't really think about what they're asking, about their true motives. They just blurt stuff out most of the time. And if you're a thinker, you start to understand and you start to look for the reasons why people ask these questions rather than just the surface level of what they're asking. Now, generally speaking, it's very difficult to answer these questions just in the YouTube comments because you can't go through all the factors. If you're a client of mine, I know exactly what you're doing. I know what routine you're doing. I know you. Now, if somebody's asking me that in the YouTube comments or in Instagram DMs, it's almost impossible for me to answer. My general response is going to be, go to the gym, stop being lazy. So let's dig into this a little bit. Before we do that, let me do the usual YouTube thing. Like, subscribe. And if you're not subscribed, what are you actually doing with your life? Subscribe to the video, and then your life will be better for it. You get more of me, get more of this beautiful face. So here's some of my personal experience. Now, let me just back this up by saying my personal experience as a guy who's trained 25 years. I've competed in 3 different sports: powerlifting, strongman, and bodybuilding. Now, I obviously have a competitive background, but that's not the entirety of what I do. I also just love the gym. I'm a regular guy who's always had a full-time job, and I love the gym, right? Even now, like, I'm a full-time coach. I love the gym, but my responsibilities mean I have to work long hours throughout the day. So it's not like I'm just a layabout or a sports athlete with nothing else to do. So just for a background, I'm very similar to you guys. Now, in general, what I see is people who ask these types of questions, they are looking for a way out. Alternatively, people who are very well motivated, you can't keep them out of the gym. You cannot. They will go. I've always found this with clients. That is, the most motivated clients, you have to do the most with them to pull them back. They will always go one step extra. If you ask them to do 5 sets, they'll do 6. If you ask them to train to 0 RIR, they'll go beyond failure. If you ask them if they're feeling okay, even if they're not, they'll be at the gym. Those kind of people are the ones who do the most. Those are the guys who make it. Now, conversely, you take it back to the people who are sat there on YouTube, having taken the time to log on to YouTube, ask a question, and wait for the answer. In that time, you could have gone to the gym and come back already. My thought process with this first initial section is just to highlight the difference between winners and losers when it comes to lifting weights. If you want to succeed, you cannot let your mindset hold you back. And just speaking from my experience, that's what I've seen. The guys who really make it, who do exceptionally well, are the ones who will go to the gym no matter what. And they'll be there, they'll get it done. Same with other areas of life, like diet, sleep, R&R. The most successful guys are the ones that will just find a way and get it done. I said this before in a previous video, my most successful clients are not the young guys who haven't quite got their routine sorted out yet. My most successful clients are the older guys who are busy with jobs, families, work commitments, because they know how to manage their time, aka they get it done, they fit it in. So I want to encourage you guys, because you all can. I want to encourage you guys to adopt a winning mindset, a determined mindset. Take action regardless of fatigue. So you're tired, who cares? Doesn't matter. You get to sleep tonight. Doesn't matter. You get to sleep tonight in a nice bed, a nice warm bed, having had a nice meal. Who cares if you're tired? Get to the gym. Shouldn't stop you. Don't ask for permission to skip the gym. I'm not going to give it to you. Now, the second section is, I can say this to you all I like, right? I can give you this pseudo-motivational, Jocko Willink type of talk, but I think the second part of this is really what's the effect it has on you as a person. Because I think this bleeds over into other areas of life. I think the signaling you send to yourself is more important. So the first part of it was just how I feel, what I'm telling you, get to the gym. The second part of it is more important because what do you care about me? I'm just some guy on YouTube. You don't really care. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what I think about you. But it's signaling to yourself. That's a lot more important. What do you tell yourself every time you skip the gym, every time you take it a bit easier, every time you decide to postpone a workout? What do you tell yourself every time you're asking that question to some random guy on the internet like me? It's signaling. It signals to yourself cutting corners and mediocrity. Now, if you're doing that, then you cannot expect the best results. There is always this sort of contradiction between people who want results, who want health, longevity, strength, physique, and are not willing to do what it takes. And it doesn't take much. Just get to the gym, be consistent, do that for decades. It's easy, right? Everyone can do it. But the point is, if you are building a mindset from day one of mediocrity, of skipping sessions, of taking shortcuts, that's going to bleed over. Then where do you think you're going to be 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, if you decide to be kind to yourself, take it easy, rest a little bit? Iron sharpens iron. You want to get better over time. You don't want to get worse. You want your mentality to get stronger. I wasn't always this stallion of a man that you see in front of you right now, right? I was actually a very chubby little kid who didn't do a great deal of physical activity. You have to have that belief in yourself, because it was that initial seed of trying hard that led me to physically excel in the sports that I did when I was probably much more suited to academia. Signaling. This is the point of this section. Signaling to yourself. Never mind what I say. Who cares what I say? I'm just some guy on the internet. You don't know me. I don't know you. Thank you for tuning in. but realistically, after you finish this video, you're not going to think about me until the next video. The message is more to yourself. What are you saying to yourself? And for all those guys you see out there in the gym who look good, are built, are lean, are muscular after years of training, those guys all went through this journey where every time they wanted to zig, they zagged. Every time they wanted to slack off, they pushed harder. Every time they wanted to binge on their diet, they applied some discipline. Every time they wanted to skip a set, they pushed it. Every time they wanted to fail, make some faces at the camera, they actually went to failure and actually trained hard, because there's a big difference, as highlighted in my last video. I think the harder you push in the gym, the more positive signaling it has to you as a person. And that bleeds over into other areas of life as well. This is, again, it's proof in action by my best clients are the guys who are the busiest. They are high profile corporate clients with busy jobs. They manage hundreds of people. Those are the guys where if I ask them to go to the gym and go to failure, they do it all out, because they know that half measures will get them nowhere. And that is, just to go back to the whole power building argument, which has been around recently, that is actually one of the fundamental problems with the whole power building argument. It's taking half measures to apply progress. And the recent statistic by, I think, Milo Wolf, who said you can get 80 to 90% of your potential doing power building. Source, trust me, bro. That highlighted the misconception that people have about stuff like this. If you apply half measures, you might get nothing. It's not realistic to say if you apply half measures, you're going to get 80 to 90% of the results. No. If you apply half measures and a half-assed attitude, you might get nothing. That's the problem. That's really what my issue is with power building. Because for most people, just making some progress year by year is hard enough. Trying to make progress on multiple goals, which can be opposing, is even harder. So that's the problem, really. But anyway, to get back to the topic. So you have to be focused. You cannot accept mediocrity in yourself. You have to try and harden yourself. And I think there are a couple of things here. The first one that I mentioned was my own message to you. But the second one is your own signaling to yourself. You're signaling to yourself, slack off. It's not worth it. Now, I'm going to end this by saying there are probably some genuine cases for skipping the gym. Not many. Okay, not many, but certainly some genuine cases. I think if you are at the point where everything's hurting, you're ill, your back's hurting, everything's hurting, you're bedbound, sure, fine, skip the gym. But there aren't many other cases. I can't really remember the last time I skipped the gym. I don't get ill that often. I don't think there's that many genuine cases to skip the gym. I think there are far more cases of people who are looking for an excuse not to go. And I think that builds on itself. It just goes down into a negative spiral. Whereas I think the more you push yourself, the more it extends into a positive spiral where you're more willing, you're more likely to actually attend the gym, do all the things you need to do, the prep, do the meal structure. There is a massive difference between where you are as a beginner to the finished athlete. You think of all the big, strong guys in this community we have here, like Natural Hypertrophy, GVS, Paris, Butler, all these guys, Alex Leonidas, all these guys, they're studs. Can you imagine like a GVS thinking, yeah, I feel a bit tired today. I'm not going to take a set to failure and beyond. I don't think that's in his vocabulary. So to become the finished product, to become like these jacked, muscular guys that you see on YouTube giving you advice, you have to slowly start to change your mindset. So anyway, to conclude, the whole question of, hey, Faz, should I train if I'm ill? Most of the time, I'm going to say, get to the gym, right? I think there are very few genuine cases for people to skip the gym. So I don't think it's a good idea. I think most of the time when people are asking that question, it's because they are asking me for permission to skip the gym. They're just being lazy. That's what I think. That's what I've seen. The other thing is, when you do skip the gym, what are you telling yourself? You're basically signaling to yourself, you know what, cut corners. It's okay to cut corners. And that bleeds over into other areas of life, which means you're always stumping your momentum. You're not going to get to the finished product of where you want to be if you are constantly cutting corners and telling yourself it's okay to slack off, because that bleeds into other areas of life. And all of a sudden, it's like the typical trope of, Faz, I don't have time. I've got a job, kids. Do you really? Or do you just spend 5 hours a night on Netflix and then 3 hours in bed looking at your phone? Yeah, you're soft, bro. You're soft. That's the truth. Fix that. And I think the best thing you guys can do is to adopt a positive mindset, a determined mindset, and that will bleed over into other areas of life and it'll bleed over into the whole entire training thing, which will lead to better results. It's all that subtle signaling, which is very hard to get to the bottom of if you're a coach, but it makes a big difference. Folks, I would encourage you guys to share your thoughts down below. Let me know. What do you think? Am I talking absolute BS or what? So let me know. Happy to hear your thoughts on the topic, or if any of this struck a chord. Cool. If any of this struck a nerve, equally speaking, I'm sure there'll be a few. Love to hear it. Let me know what your excuses are. I'm looking forward to reading them.